pretty busy years for me. To summarize, 4 of my relatives were diagnosed with cancer. 2 of my relatives were involved in major car accidents. 1 of them fell into a brief coma. 2 people had a stroke, and both my grandmothers died. All those were major events that year. None of them were the most memorable. That happened after my paternal grandmother died. At her wedding, not a wedding, her funeral reception, one of my cousins pointed out this boy from across the room. She said this was a guy that she had dated on and off the year before, and none of us really knew who he was, and he had no real reason for being there. So she made eye contact, went up to him, and she said, "Hey, how's it going? Long time to see. What the frick back are you doing here?" And she comes back to us with a very strange look on her face, and she says, "He's here for his grandmother's funeral." Keep in mind that she dated this guy. And to understand how big of a deal this was for us, you have to understand something about my father. And if there's one thing that man has burned into my brain, it is that there is nothing in this world more important than family. And when we were growing up, my cousins and I, we all grew up within walking distance of each other. And we were raised to consider each other closer, or as close to us as our own siblings. So to learn that about 10-minute drive away from us, we had an uncle, cousin, and uncle and aunt and 3 new cousins that we had never known about, was a personal betrayal of the deepest kind. So after all the explanations were through and all the yelling, because believe me, there was a lot of yelling involved, I sat down with my new cousins and we talked for hours that day and for years afterwards. And I learned a lot of things, not just about them, but about a lot of the gaps in the family history. I learned about why my father stopped talking to his brother for 30 years. I learned why I never had a chance to meet both my grandfathers. I learned where my name came from. And that signals a turning point in my life for me. Not just because I had new relatives, but it sparked one of the deepest passions I follow today. I collect stories now, documents, family history. The last official family record keeper died about 70 years ago, and a lot of our oral history went with it. And there's a lot for me to catch up on, because now it's my job. And it's the sort of work that takes a lot of time to invest in. And it's one that I've happily invested myself in. Family's what